For years, hundreds of thousands of expeditions have tried to unravel all the mysteries that exist on Earth. However, it seems that the more we investigate, the more questions and strange things come to light. Join us as we examine the most recent and controversial archaeological discoveries. Number 1. Roman boxing gloves. Boxing has been around as a sport for almost as long as humans have walked the earth. It seems like there have always been athletes willing to fight each other for supremacy, and there have always been crowds willing to cheer them on as well. The first references we have to boxing as a sport date back to 3,000 years ago in ancient Egypt, but a recent discovery in Northumbria, England, has shown that the ancient Romans were also fans of this sweet science. Found at the Roman fort of Vindolanda in the region, these two leather bundles are primitive boxing gloves and are around 1,000 years old. Although we know that the Romans liked boxing, these are the only two surviving gloves that have been found. It is thought that different units within the Roman army fought each other in boxing matches for bragging rights and supremacy. His friends were also known to enjoy betting on the outcome of combats. This particular pair was well worn and loved. Their owner thought enough of them to patch them up rather than throw them away, presumably only doing so when they were finally beyond repair. Number 2. Minya Necropolis. Egypt's most famous ancient necropolis is Saqqara, which has yielded countless archaeological finds in recent years and will likely continue to do so for the next decade. However, it is far from the only notable ancient necropolis in the country. In February 2018, archaeologists discovered another in Minya, which is more than 240 kilometers south of Cairo. Although cemeteries have been found at Minya before, this one dating to the late Pharaonic period had somehow been overlooked until then, despite being much larger. Some of the tombs found in the necropolis belong to people known to Egyptologists, including the high priests of Thoth and their relatives. One of them is specifically named as Jehudi-Ur-Des, one of the 5 chief high priests of the deity, who was buried with no less than 40 members of his family and numerous figurines, examples of fine pottery and other funerary goods. So far, archaeologists have opened and fully explored 13 burial sites, with more to come in the future. Perhaps the Minya necropolis will one day be as well known as Saqqara. Number 3. Medieval ruins in Finland. Students at a school in Turku, Finland, were shocked in early 2018 when renovation work inside their school gym uncovered long-forgotten medieval ruins. Many of Turku's medieval ruins were destroyed in 1827 when a huge fire swept through the city and burned more than 3/4 of the buildings. The school was built after the fire, but we now know that the work was carried out directly on the remains of at least 2 medieval houses and a section of a street. Archaeologists believe that if they continued digging and also lifted the schoolyard, they would find more of the street and probably several more houses. The school is not very enthusiastic about that idea and would like the archaeologists to give them back their gym. Local authorities have also recently tried to find a way to preserve the ancient ruins without causing damage to the school. One possible option is to finish excavating the ruins, put the gymnasium floor back on top, and open an underground museum at the same time. Number 4. Panur's treasure. The Panur hoard is so named because it was found scattered across several fields in Panur, Cumbria, England, over more than 200 years. The time elapsed between the discovery of the first artifact in the hoard and the discovery of the most recent makes it one of the most unusual treasure finds in British history. The treasure includes a set of particular silver pennon brooches made during the 10th century. The first item, a large thistle brooch, was discovered in 1785. A second brooch, almost identical to the first, was found nearby in 1830. Most of the objects in the hoard were found by 2 teams of archaeologists working in proximity to each other. with the other with metal detectors in 1989. Historians think that the large brooches were originally deposited close to each other deliberately in the year 930, but are less sure whether the rest of the items were abandoned on purpose or buried at the same time. The pieces are of a style that was first popularized during the Romano-British era, but the style was adopted by the Vikings, and these brooches are in fact almost certainly of Viking origin. Number 5. The mummified mermaid, discovered in Kochi, Japan, has generated astonishment and speculation among locals and experts alike. This creature, which measures approximately 30 centimeters long, has an upper part that resembles a human and a lower part similar to the tail of a fish. The mummy, found in an ancient temple, dates back around 300 years and has been the subject of local veneration, considered by some to be a mythical creature with healing properties. The mermaid was subjected to various scientific tests, including DNA analysis and radiological studies, to determine its authenticity. The results of these studies have been mixed and often controversial. Some scientists believe it could be an elaborate work of taxidermy, combining parts of different animals, possibly a monkey and a fish, which was a common practice in Japan and other parts of Asia during certain historical periods to create curiosities. The discovery in Kochi has revived interest in legends of mermaids and sea creatures in Japanese culture. Mermaids, known as ninjyo in Japanese, are described in folklore as creatures that can grant longevity and health to those who consume them, although they can also bring bad luck if captured or damaged. The temple where the mummy was found has seen an increase in the number of visitors, attracted by the legend and mystery surrounding the creature. This phenomenon has sparked a debate about the authenticity and origin of the mummified mermaid, raising questions about the intersection between myth, reality, and human fascination with the unknown. Number 6. The skull with a metal implant is one of the most fascinating and mysterious discoveries in modern archaeology. Found at a pre-Columbian site in the Lambayeque Valley, Peru, this skull belongs to the Sican culture, which flourished between 750 and 1375 AD. What makes this find extraordinary is the implantation of a metal plate in the skull, apparently performed as an early form of cranial surgery. The plate, made of a gold and copper alloy, was placed to cover a traumatic head injury, possibly caused by a blunt force blow. This procedure shows an advanced level of medical knowledge and surgical skills for the time. Studies of osseointegration, where bone fuses with metal, suggest that the individual survived the surgery, indicating a remarkable understanding of medicine and the skill of pre-Columbian surgeons. The Sican culture is known for its skills in metallurgy, especially in the creation of highly complex ceremonial and ornamental objects. However, the application of these skills in medicine opens new perspectives on the level of technological and scientific development of the ancient civilizations of South America. This implanted skull also raises questions about the purpose of the surgery. It could have been a medical intervention to save the individual's life, a ritual practice to treat spiritual illnesses, or a combination of both. The precision of the cutting and placement of the plate suggests advanced technique and a deep understanding of human anatomy. In addition, the finding contributes to the debate about the exchange of knowledge between ancient cultures. Some theorize that there may have been contact with other advanced civilizations, allowing for the exchange of medical and technological techniques. In summary, the metal-implanted skull of the Sican culture is a striking testimony to the ingenuity and skill of pre-Columbian civilizations, revealing unknown aspects of their medical knowledge and their ability to perform complex surgical interventions. Number 7. Giant claw of the moas. Moas were a group of 9 different species of birds in New Zealand that were unable to fly and became extinct almost 2,000 years ago. During an archaeological dig in 1986, archaeologists made a surprising discovery: a moa claw in a cave. Far from just a bone, the scientists found that both the muscles and the skin were still intact, unlike the mummified bodies typical of ancient cultures. The largest of the moas discovered was more than 3 meters high and weighed more than 226 kilograms. Without a doubt, a real giant. Number 8. The three-fingered mummy, presented to the world by researcher Jamie Mawson, is one of the most controversial and discussed finds in contemporary archaeology. Discovered in 2017 near Nazca, Peru, this mummy, approximately 1.68 meters tall, has generated intense debate due to its unusual anatomical features, which include 3 long fingers on each hand and foot, an elongated skull, and an atypical bone structure. The mummy was subjected to several carbon-14 dating tests, which suggested an age of between 1,700 and 1,800 years, placing it in the pre-Columbian period. However, the authenticity and origin of the mummy have been the subject of skepticism and controversy within the scientific community. Many experts argue that it could be fraud or an alteration of known human remains. X-ray and CT scan images have shown a bone structure that some researchers consider human, but with modifications. Proponents of the mummy's authenticity, such as Mawson, argue that it could be evidence of an unknown humanoid species or extraterrestrial visitations in ancient times. One of the most intriguing aspects of the mummy is the presence of metal implants inside the body, which has led some to speculate about the advanced technology used by this supposed civilization. Additionally, the mummy's skin appears to be covered in a white substance, possibly used in the mummification process. The discovery has been presented in various forums and media, generating both enthusiasm and criticism. Studies on the mummy continue, with teams of scientists seeking to determine its true origin and nature through more advanced genetic and morphological analyses. Number 9. The Square Zone of the Four Goats. The four-goat square zone might sound like a group of random words, but it is actually a Chinese bronze ritual vessel. Specifically, it is a zun glass, which is a ritual wine glass. Historians in China believe the artifact is more than 3,000 years old, making it a relic of the late Shang dynasty era. As the artifact's name strongly implies, the vase is surrounded by 4 goats with coiled horns, making it totally unique in the archaeological record. Today you can find it on display inside the National Museum of China, but it was first discovered in the village of Huangkai, Hunan Province, in April 1938 by a pair of brothers digging for sweet potatoes on the side of a mountain. This is the largest square zone of its era ever discovered and also features a relief of 4 intertwined dragons accompanying their 4 goats. The 4 goats square zone actually disappeared after being hidden for safekeeping during World War II, but was eventually relocated in 1952. It was sent to the National Museum of Chinese History 7 years later, but was transferred to the National Museum from China later that same year. Number 10. The Serapeum of Alexandria. Temples played an extremely important role in the ancient world. No matter what civilization you refer to, you will always find temples dedicated to the gods. These temples were as imposing and majestic as the gods themselves who were worshipped in them. A prominent example of this is the Serapeum of Alexandria. This magnificent temple is a clear example of a place that transcends 2 worlds, since, as many of you probably know, Alexandria is located in Egypt, but the temple itself has its roots in Greek culture. That's because it was located in the city's Greek quarter. The Serapeum, an ancient temple, was a very popular destination for pilgrims and tourists from all over the world. It was widely known for its incredible healing powers, which attracted people from all over seeking relief from their ailments. In addition, the temple was famous for its rituals related to fertility, which led many couples to go there to pray and ask for the blessing of having children. These examples clearly demonstrate the enormous influence and power of the temples at that time. For many, they represented the hope of obtaining what they wanted and, at the same time, guaranteeing themselves a better life. Number 11. Medieval ring in Israel. In early 2018, gardener Dekel Ben Shitrit was tending plants in community gardens in the Galilee when he unearthed a small ring among the vegetation. He picked it up, cleaned it, and was fascinated to see a human figure engraved on its surface. Dekel was curious to know more about what he had found, so he posted a photo on Facebook and asked for advice. That's where he caught the attention of local historians and archaeologists, who were able to quickly confirm that the ring dates back to the medieval era and that the figure depicted on it is Saint Nicholas. That would explain why he has a halo and carries a bishop's crozier. Determining an exact age for the ring may never be possible, but it is likely that it was made sometime between the 12th and 15th centuries. Saint Nicholas is associated with Father Christmas or Santa Claus in the Western world, but during the medieval era he was the patron saint of travelers, sailors, merchants, and pilgrims. The ring most likely belonged to a pilgrim traveling to or from the coast, but it could also have belonged to a merchant. Number 12. Ancient Yukon Arrow. Yukon, Canada's northwesternmost province, is a surprisingly icy place. However, in recent years the ice has begun to melt, and as it does, it releases relics of the past. In January 2018, archaeologists in Yukon found a copper-headed arrow with the tip still firmly attached to its barbed shaft. The weapon is in near pristine condition, but is over 1,000 years old. It is one of the oldest copper artifacts ever found in northern Canada. According to Canadian historians, the arrow would have been shot by an ancient hunter looking to take a caribou home for meat. At the time it was fired, the arrow was a recent technological improvement. Until about 1,000 years ago, hunters in the region used throwing weapons called atlatl instead of arrows because the bow and arrow had not been invented in this part of the world. Number 13. Old chess piece. We move to Norway, where archaeologists think they might be getting closer to tracing the origins of chess. This 800-year-old chess piece was discovered in Tonsberg in January 2018. Tonsberg has always been of interest to Norwegian archaeologists because it is the oldest city in the country. The chess piece was discovered in the ruins of a 10th-century building and is believed to come from the same era. The artifact is made of antler and may have once had a lead support inserted into its center to ensure that it remained upright when placed on a board. What has sparked the interest of experts is the fact that the piece is designed in accordance with Islamic traditions, without human figures represented on its surface. The presence of the piece in Norway lends further weight to the theory that chess came to Europe from the Middle East, where it was definitely played in the 6th century and could date back even further. The lack of a human figure makes it difficult to identify the piece, but experts are pretty sure it is a horse.